What's going on, guys? Rico Capital. Today I'm going to show y'all how I chart a stock and how I look for a potential setup and kind of how I go about things when charting and kind of the criteria I'm looking for in a play or a setup. So first things first, when I look for is pull up a stock. I think my example, I'm going to be using Oracle right here. It's pretty freshly naked chart for me, so I'm going to be looking for any possibilities for upside or downside, whatever the next play may be going into the next day. So first thing I do is I look for any potential gaps, and I kind of just mark those. I mark those for orange. And you don't have to do my same color scheme. I'm just going to show y'all kind of how I do things. So first thing I kind of do is mark some of these gaps so I know where they're at. From there, I get on the hourly. There we go. And I start drawing some lines here. So I will kind of explain how I arrived at some of these levels kind of once I get through it. But as you can see, I'm just going to kind of go through it, and hopefully you guys can learn a thing or two about this. Yeah, so the gap fills are very important though. I noticed that some of these gap fills or these gaps kind of play as levels already. So I'm not going to mark some of those levels that I see potentially kind of interfering with that as well. So I shall leave those for now. But there are some levels I see there. It would just be kind of two close lines together. I don't really want that there, seeing a bunch of orange and blue lines together. So orange I'll keep there. That kind of overpowers it if anything, but I'll leave it more of that right there. So looks kind of good so far. Let's see what else we can find out here. So blue lines usually for just support, normal support resistance level, and then green for like demand, red for any supply like that. So usually I won't really do supply or demand on normal kind of names like this unless it's like index or things like that. So let's see. Hopefully as I continue kind of just charting this, it kind of makes more sense for you guys. All right, looks pretty good so far. Let me get on the 4 hour now. All right, yeah, that looks pretty good so far. So notice how I did put that demand down there. It wasn't, at first it started off with two blue lines, but I noticed it was a huge demand. And as I put that there and I get on the 4 hour, I can see, yes, it was definitely a huge demand, which held there. First blue line right here, which showed on this big green candle right here. I kind of went under, matched up here, and it matched up over here, which was a huge earnings push up here. So once I put the lines in, I kind of go look at, on a higher time frame, do these make sense? So do these make sense? Yes, first line, it makes sense going across. This next one right here makes a lot of sense going across. And now these levels aren't going to be completely perfect down to the penny. Sometimes they are. Sometimes you're off by a few cents. It doesn't matter. As long as you know there's a support or resistance in that kind of dollar area where that it's approaching, then you should be good. If you're in a position and you're approaching that, as long as you know there's going to be some type of buyers or sellers there, you should be all right. All right, so beautiful. So I like this setup going into this right here. So you can see what I see on the hourly. We are in kind of like a rising wedge here. I love how we do have an unfilled gap here and unfilled gap here, meaning this rising wedge is kind of playing out. And potentially if we see kind of a downturn in the market, this could break down and end up filling this gap, coming back down to 142.37, 141, possibly 139.96, and then back down to 138 demand zone down here for a potential another bounce. We've seen it happen here. It's happening again. It's possible, especially with Oracle. It's a good company, but it's definitely a company that kind of stays in range like this. So I would like this, especially if we broke. I'm going to put an alert here. Under 144.13 should drop us down to 143 kind of gap fill, where we'd definitely eat that up and probably bounce at the 143.34 level. If we fail there, we should finish the rest of that other gap at 143. Under that should drop to 142.37. From there, we'll probably see a big fight. But if not, right here, that 141 would be a huge one, and that's a really good move right there. A good $3 to $4 move down. Pretty good for Oracle too. So very simple, kind of how I did that as well. And hopefully you guys can learn a little bit more. I'll go into more depth with other videos, but I just wanted to show you kind of how I do things on the fly, and kind of how simple it is. You know, a lot of people make a lot of things overcomplicated, and you just got to make it very simple, getting on a higher time frame and just kind of seeing what makes sense. You know, does that make sense? Does this level make sense? Gap fills. Can you make a pattern out of it? Can you make sense out of it? And if you can, what does it look like to you? You know, so it's very important to understand pattern recognition. Very important for you to understand, you know, price action too, especially if the market sees some pullback. And we might expect it with CPI this week and other things this week, that there's catalysts where we could see a pullback. This right here should be your number one go-to. I'm not saying Oracle, but I'm just saying when you chart something and that aligns, you know, say you have something in mind for downside that aligns, then by all means, that when the market starts dumping, I want you to immediately turn to your charted individual name and say there's weakness here and I want to go for it. And another example of that would be for NVIDIA. I have this charted, sure, but I'm looking for a major gap fill down here at 111, 110, and I've been waiting for it, especially if the market ends up tanking. If we get under the 118 level, I have alerts all down here to let me know it's time to go. So I'm definitely going to take the shorts under 118.04 to a drop down to 114, and then hopefully eat the rest of that gap. So a good $8 move down on NVIDIA, especially after the split with the contracts being cheaper. It should be a really fun and easy trade, but we'll see how it goes. I'm keeping an eye on that. So that's definitely another kind of thing I want you guys to keep in mind is, does the setup make sense? And when the setup happens, is the market on my side? Is the market selling off? I'm not saying Monday I'm going into looking for this, you know, if we end up dumping them here. I did set an alert, sure, but if the market is ripping and this is kind of, you know, teetering around here, I'm not going to take it. I need confirmation. I need everything else on my side. I need tech to be dumping. I need a couple things on my side instead of just blindly taking the levels. So if QQQ is on my side, SPY's dumping too, everything else is going red. This is cracking our 144.13 level right here, and we know we have a gap fill. I know for sure I'm getting that move down to right here, and I'm taking my wins all the way down. So kind of how I chart and look at things. I'll go into more in depth in on a later video, and of course I'll be pumping out more videos and show y'all on a more difficult level how I do things, and I'll go in depth more, as well as, you know, why these levels and how you can use them and things like that. So keep an eye out for this if you want to, you know, kind of just see how I did this, and then the next day or, you know, later this week or whatever, come back and go look at Oracle and see how this played out. You'll be real surprised that it's pretty accurate how I did this. So if you like this video, subscribe, like it, share, tap in with the team, sign up if you want to join the team. I'm trading live Monday, Tuesdays throughout the week, get my live trade alerts, and let's bank, guys. Let's make this money. See you all in the next video.